think, Anis, are the 5 most common interview questions for the program manager role, or required for this job position?
Yeah, another great question. So I would say one is, being able to provide examples of stakeholder management, particularly when it was a hairy situation. Maybe there was an upset stakeholder, maybe there was tension, maybe there was extreme disagreement across stakeholders. Being able to communicate how you navigated that situation and, both what was the outcome and also what did you learn from it that you now apply to future scenarios. That bit about being able to demonstrate that you learn and then apply those best practices to the next problem you encounter, I think is very important. I think a second bit would be, simply providing an example of a program or project you've run and feeling comfortable talking about the different components of it. So talking about, really determining the business problem, determining the solution approach, determining how to best engage the stakeholders involved, keeping everything on track and on time, conducting the postmortem to think through what could be done differently or better next time, or what went really well. I think a third question that might be asked is, what is your communication style? Different program managers will approach things with different communication styles. I know folks who are quite directive, who prefer, to be very formal and direct and very, very clear. I myself prefer to take a more social approach and to take an approach of, I want you to kind of enjoy this process we're embarking on together to create whatever it is that we're trying to create. Feeling comfortable knowing what your communication approach is very useful, because if it differs from what a hiring team might be looking for, you can demonstrate that you're able to flex into that style as well, because you're self-aware of where you tend to communicate and how you tend to communicate, so that way you can branch into these other realms. So I think that was 3 questions. I'll think through 2 more. So I would say a fourth one could be, to be able to highlight a time in which a program or project failed. It's not all sunshine and rainbows in program management. Sometimes things go off the rails. Sometimes business priorities shift. Sometimes you realize, further in that you're not resourced properly. You can encounter a really wide range of obstacles. And I think being able to show that you have the awareness to acknowledge that sometimes there are obstacles outside of your sphere of control and influence is really important. And being able to say, this is what I would do differently next time, or here's what I learned from this, is very critical. And then I would say, a fifth question that you might be asked is, maybe examples of times you've worked cross-functionally. So that might be a more high-level or introductory question, but it can demonstrate your familiarity and comfortability working with stakeholders who are very different from yourself. So for example, in my role, I find myself working with legal quite often, and their subject matter expertise is so different from mine, and their framework is so different from mine, and their business motivations are so different from mine. And I have to be able to find some sort of middle ground, or find a way to kind of communicate in their language and tailor my messaging to that audience to be able to partner more effectively with them. So being able to share examples of when you've worked cross-functionally can be very useful, because you can demonstrate that you have that adaptability, you have those communication skills, and you have the capacity to flex into those different directions. I think that was my
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm sure, our all attendees would love these tips. So could you please help us even, what are the 4 skills that a program manager should have? Top 4 skills.
Top 4 skills. So I would say stakeholder management. I would say within stakeholder management, you could include facilitation, strong communication skills, I would say, strategy and operation skills. So again, being able to zoom out into that big picture and also execute on the small details. And then fourth, I would say, is emotional intelligence. And that becomes really critical in building strong, meaningful relationships, and also assessing the stakeholders and audience members or end users that you might be working with to ensure that whatever you build makes sense and works for them.